We need to belong to someone, and someone needs to belong to us. I'm a little bit disheveled right now because I just woke up from an incredible dream. And I'll share a little bit more about that later because it actually ties into something else. There's a scene in Breakfast at Tiffany's at the very end when Paul is telling Holly that he loves her, and she says she won't be put into a cage, not by anyone. And she's like, we don't belong to anyone. People don't belong to each other. And I don't need anybody, and Kat doesn't need anybody. And she actually, I hate this part because I love my cat. And the thought of an animal out on the streets, it just breaks my heart. In fact, my kitty is actually a rescue. And when I think about her first 4 months of life, like she was a feral kitten, it hurts me. I can't watch Oliver and Company, the Disney show with the kitten that's abandoned. I can't watch that first scene without crying my eyes out. I absolutely hate it when people abandon animals. It's just, those scenes in movies just really upset me. And hearing about it in real life really upsets me. So, of course, that part still bugs me, and that's why I tend not to watch that scene. But I made myself get through it because I knew that at the end she does come back for Kat. But the thing is, Paul tells her that she's already in a cage because she won't allow herself to belong to anybody, and she's just running from something that she can't actually run from, which is herself. So he has a whole speech. You can go and find it on YouTube. But this reel just randomly popped up after I had this dream. And so in the dream, basically I was back in college and I was in a classroom I was trying to get to the front row, but I couldn't seem to find a seat. So I sat in the back, but I couldn't see anything. And I'm like, I'm not as close up as I need to be to actually see what's going on. So instead of sitting at the front like I normally did, I sat 3 rows behind. And as I was watching this professor, I noticed that the way that he was teaching was almost like marketing. But there was a piece missing. And within that, I'm like, oh, there's a piece missing here. From what I know about marketing, this piece is important for people to be able to critically think without falling into problems. And then I had also been talking to an elderly couple in this dream, and I had been mentioning that I was going to school and I was also a mom, and I had an 11-year-old, and that sometimes it was really hard to get a handle on things because, it's just me. And they said, well, what you have to do is you have to follow this child around constantly, and keep reinforcing the rules. So you can't ever stop reinforcing the rules. And I found that very interesting because it's you have to keep reinforcing the rules because they won't naturally do that. They'll question it. And it's oh no, you can't let them question it. And then I snapped because I was so annoyed because I'd kind of gone through this where people had always been constantly at me and harping on me and telling me that what I was doing wasn't good enough or I was doing it wrong. And as an empowered mom, I don't put up with that crap. I really don't. So I kind of yelled at the old lady in the dream, and I kind of did a profanity, and then I proceeded to unleash a little bit of my scorpion on her in basically trying to educate her. And she was taken aback and she was really upset. And she's like, how dare you? My husband doesn't like that you yelled at me. And because you yelled at me now, I'm going to play victim and I'm going to point out that maybe you should be dropped from this class because you clearly don't respect your elders. And that's when I had taken, I softened because I'm I didn't really want to yell at this lady. I just wanted to get her to stop criticizing me when she doesn't even know my full situation. Like, she didn't even ask. She just started imparting her thoughts without, like, actually realizing that everything that she was saying was harmful. It was perpetuating trauma. And that's the part, is like, I talked to her and I'm like, look, I'm sorry I yelled. That was a trauma response. This is exactly why I'm parenting my kids the way I am, because people were always on me to just do what I was told without questioning it. And I don't want that for my kids. And then I proceeded to educate. And then there was another piece where it was like, well, women typically aren't educated because they're good as baby making machines or whatever. And there was another part where I was standing up. But in the end, I had also been admitting in the dream, it's like, I'm building an empire here. I'm building a business. I'm trying to make an impact in the world. And I'm also trying to raise conscious kids because I don't want them to have that trauma that I went through, because it's so much harder to break as you get older. And I want a more peaceful world. I want a more connected world. And honestly, it's really hard to do when you don't have that right support. And then I'd also mentioned in the dream to somebody that's like, I'd been in an abusive relationship, so I didn't even have that right support when I was with my partner. So it's like, yeah, it's hard to be a single mom, and at the same time, it's harder to do it when your partner doesn't actually support you. And I'm like, I don't say that to get sympathy. I say that because, like, this is it. You need to have the right support. You need to have people in your corner who are actually supporting you. You need a village. And then that brought into a whole other part that I'm not going to get into. But it was in recognizing that even though it's like, you know what, my true love can be free and everything to choose. And at the same time, we need each other, and I choose him. And I kind of had a conversation with him in the dream too. I'm like, you know what, I choose you. And you can keep hiding if you want, but I choose you. And I'm not giving up on you. And I'm not giving up on us. And we belong to each other. And the thing is like, you need people in your corner who choose you every day as someone that they believe in, who will stand by you. And the most important person is your partner. You need your partner to stand by you. They are the closest one. They are the ones witnessing your life. They are the ones who fully choose you and are always going to choose you and choose your family. Whereas if you have friends, they're going to end up having to choose their families. They're going to have to choose their children. They're going to have to choose their partner. If it comes between supporting you and supporting their partner, they're going to choose their partner. And same with your children. Your children are one day going to move away and they're going to support their families. And your partner needs to be on your side. And you can't do it alone either. Because when you don't have anybody pouring into you, you can't pour out into the world. So I have to resource myself right now. And I've done a really good job of doing it on my own. And at the same time, it is exhausting and things fall through the cracks all the time because I don't have somebody pouring into me right now. And I know that I can be even more resourceful when I have somebody who's got my back. And it has to be the right person. And you need those right people in your life who've got your back, who can pour into you when you are starting to run on empty, when you start to think that you can't do it, when you're running low, or you need an insight, or maybe there's something that you're not seeing clearly. You need others around you to point it out. That's why I'm a coach. Because the women in the birth community who do come to me and do ask questions, they're not seeing all of the pieces the way I have picked them and piece them together. So you need to have people who can see what you can't see. You need people to be a mirror for you, and they need to be the right mirror. They can't be doing it from a place of just trying to manipulate you. And there are so many who are doing it from a place of control and manipulation and fear. And they're on you, just like those parents that are supposed to just Keep at it and keep sinking that message into the kid, and eventually they'll get it. But if it's the wrong message, they're just going to rebel. But they might fall down a different path. We keep trying to break traumas, but we all need each other. All the generations need each other. We have this generational gap where we're at each other's throats. We're at odds. We're making fun of Gen Z. We're making fun of Gen Alpha, which is my son's generation right now. We'll probably start picking them apart. The Gen Zs and the millennials and the Gen X and the boomers, like all of it. No, we can't do it alone. And we can't do it within our own generation. We need each other. Because guess what? Those older generations have gone through trauma and they don't see it because it has been so normalized. So yeah, that elderly couple that had all those opinions about what I was doing, they were a representative of that attitude. And you see it. You see how people roll their eyes. But you know what? I guarantee that there's people in Gen Z that are rolling their eyes at the millennials. And the millennials are rolling their eyes at the Gen Z. I don't roll my eyes at anybody. When people get in on all of the different generations, like, yeah, there's some things that Gen Z doesn't see. They haven't gotten that far in the journey yet. They're still young. And there's some things that Gen Z is doing that's just absolutely amazing. There's things that my son, at 11 years old, can see in a way that I did not get to see until I hit my 20s. And I'm sitting there and I'm looking at him and I'm just in awe of him. And there's other things that he does. It's like, you really don't understand all of the pieces yet. When you get to that point, then you're going to see it more clearly. But until then, I'm going to guide you. And yeah, there's some things that the elder generations, they just don't see. And I love talking with people in their 70s and 80s who are, maybe they grew up a certain way. They grew up differently. And at the same time, they're open and they're learning a new way and they're learning from the younger generations. We all need each other. And men and women need to stop pitting each other against, like, we need to stop the fighting with the men and the women. Because yeah, there are things that men don't see. Even the most evolved men who want to be allies in this fight for women to have more control of our bodies and autonomy and to be respected in the workforce and to be respected, period, for the work that we do, the important work we do of raising our children, to be fully respected and seen. Yeah, even the evolved ones sometimes miss it. And the thing I love about my brothers, my soul dads, my uncles, my soul grandfathers, is that they're willing to sit with me and they're willing to listen when I point out, it's like, this thing that you said, there's actually more to it. The reason why women do it this way and why we think this way is this. And here's what we're actually dealing with. And when they see it and understand it, they're like, oh. And at the same time, there's things I don't see about men. And I'm sitting there and I'm learning their perspective. I had my eyes opened last year as to why certain things happened in my life when I was younger. It's like, why didn't these boys ask me out? I'm like, because you were intimidating to them. They thought you were out of their league. And I'm like, but I was doing everything I could to try to get their attention, to show that they were worthy. And it's like, yeah, but they still didn't see it. They had their own thing. And like the ones you were going after were really shy. And by doing that, by pointing that out to me, I was like, oh, maybe that's what's going on here. And then I saw it and I realized it and like, oh, okay, I get it now. And I started to see the games that men have been taught to play. And the kind, loving ones don't want to play those games. Because they really just want to have a partner, a best friend that they can do life with. They don't want to treat women as less than, but all of the bros out there are telling them that they're weak because they won't use a woman. And like, it's all in there. We've all been hurt. Every single one of us has been hurt. And it's harming our kids because our kids are picking up those same messages, sometimes unconsciously. And we can't do it alone. We need to have more connected families. And as the conscious ones that are starting to see this, we have to have compassion for those who can't see it yet. We have to have strong boundaries in place. And we have to also have that open heart. And we have to recognize that it's going to take all of us, that we're not alone, that we are all connected, we are all one, and we can all heal together. We're all just walking each other home. So find your people, find your family, even if it's not blood. Even if your family that you were born into can't be that for you. You need that right support. That's why I talk about my 5 pillars so much. It's like you need to have the right support. And if you can't get it from your family of origin, that actually means, and my dear friend and mentor Annie Lala says this, it's like, then you are the pinnacle of the evolutionary leader of your family line. Which means that you are the most evolved, because evolution works forward, not backwards. So you're at the tip of that spear to be able to point in the direction you need to go to continue the family evolutionary path. Your ancestors before that, they are clapping for you, even if they're if it's energetically, if they were not wounded, their highest level self, they would be clapping for you to lead. You are the leader. All the generations before are looking to you to heal. So you can either continue to feel small and not enough or too much for them, or you can lead. And you can also recognize that you have guidance for your children, and your children are going to go beyond you. My children, I have always known they are going to go beyond me. Because my dad said something to me when I was a teenager. He said it to me and my brother. He said, whatever you do in life, I love you. Do what makes you happy. Do what makes you feel most fulfilled. And as long as you're one step better than I was, then you'll have made it. And I have taken that lesson to heart. And I have done one step better than my dad. There were things he did that I really, I know where he was coming from, and he did do better than his parents. And at the same time, there were things that he could have done better, but he didn't have the resources. It wasn't available yet. He went back to school when I was 11 years old. He went into social psychology and developmental psychology. He started to understand how kids' brains actually worked and adolescent brains. I was able to learn that from him. So I was able to understand where my attachment issues came from, and I was able to understand deeper psychological concepts. And again, this was back in 1997 to 1998. We have gone so much further than that in what we now know about kids and their development. In fact, even after I had my son, the research still wasn't there. So there was a book that I got when my son was 3. It was called Rest, Play, Grow. And there was another one, The Whole Brain Child. And I started reading these books, and I'm like, why didn't I know this information before? I'd studied attachment parenting in college. I knew about this stuff, kind of, but there's so many more layers. And then I went and looked at the publishing date, and the book had come out a year after my son was born. And I was like, oh, that's why. When we know better, we can do better. And we all have maps. So instead of invalidating somebody else's experience, what if we came to it from an open heart? What if we recognized that everybody has value in the world? And those who are hurting others are hurting deep inside, and they're looking to us to show them the light. So when you recognize that we can't do this alone, that we all need each other, that we are all one, that we need to have open hearts, we need to also set our boundaries, we need to know who we are, we need to stand for our truth, and we need to keep evolving and recognize that those before us and those after us have their own paths. We can have a more connected and loving world. And we also need to put out our gifts and our wisdom. This is the second component. Not only do we need each other, we also need to impart our wisdom when it is welcome. And that's judging if somebody has an open heart and they're ready to receive the message, or if they're not there yet. So I have a lot of discernment when I'm sharing with people in my personal life, and when I'm teaching or when I'm coaching, where people are at in their journey and in their path. Because I have basically things from every layer. I have a Phoenix method for getting past fear and moving towards dreams. And I basically, this is what I've been put on this planet to do. This is what I've been called to do, is to help get past that darkness and to bring more light into that world. And you have your own map and you have your own reason why you're here. So the meaning of life is what you make it. And it's to connect. We're here to connect, to love. That's why we're here. We're here to love, and we're here to scatter our magic. That's it. To elevate the next generation. Because once you're gone, you're gone. But your magic survives, and others can pick it up and keep going with that research to continue furthering humanity and allow us to have a more connected world and to heal our planet. So that's what I wanted to leave you with. Thank you so much for watching. And these will be available on Carly Bonderud Uncensored, which is my YouTube channel. I will be putting the link in the bio as soon as I'm finished adding the videos. I'm still working on that channel, but it is almost done. So I will be unveiling that in the next few weeks. So keep watching and I'll let you know. And then you can share these videos across different platforms and share the light. Anything that you find is helpful. These are not business related. These are just, basically I take what I do. I have insights. I'm a coach. I'm connected in other communities where we're doing a lot of work on helping people heal and transform their lives. And there are some posts that, like videos, that can also be applied to business. But I've noticed that everything is connected. Everything is interconnected. So I find patterns and then I apply those patterns of what I'm seeing to relationships and to business and to motherhood and to birth, which is where I really shine because that is where I started. And basically you can transform every aspect of your life once you see the patterns, once you see the map. So yeah, that's what my next level is just putting that magic out there. And if you are in the birth space though, if you are either looking to have a baby or you know someone who is and they want a true natural birth experience, you can follow my other channel, which is at Empowering Moms Birth. And on that one, I use the same systems and patterns that I see to apply to that birth space. I have an empowered birth method. So these pillars are basically interchangeable between both what I do in my business and also what I just do for fun. This is for fun. This is my gift to the world. And this is also a gift to my family and to my friends, because oftentimes I'm so busy and I can't be everywhere at once. So if they're looking for my magic, my wisdom, they can now just watch those videos and they can get it that way. And then if they have more questions, they can ask it, so that I don't have to spend so much time in a deep, deep, deep conversation if I have other things going on. Because I love my friends, I love my family, and we do get into those deep 3-hour discussions. In fact, I had one a couple of weeks back with my soul grandpa, and it was just amazing. And there's always a layer deeper. And I don't know when I'm going to be able to get back down there and do that again, because there's always something will come up. And I'm a mom, and my first responsibility is to myself, then it's to my partner when he comes in, and to my children, and to my business. And then everything else is around that. So then I have my inner circle of my closest friends and family that do see me and are my perfect mirrors and are propelling me to my dreams and are pouring into me. And then it's everybody else on the outside. So there's different layers. And then there's like, this is how I do it. Social media has allowed anyone to get on their platform and speak their magic. So go speak it. Go put light into the world. And, if you're worried about people not liking it or hating on you for it, as long as you're doing it from an open-hearted place, and you're not doing it to control anyone, well, it'll all sort itself out. Just love people. Just be love and light. And put your boundaries in place and stand up for yourself. Okay. So that's what I have for you today. Thank you again for watching. If you want to know more about the right support, as I said, I do talk about this quite a lot on my page, and you'll be able to find these videos a lot easier. But you can go on to any of my Instagram videos that I had so far, and you'll probably find pieces of that. I just scatter my magic out there. And if you want something more concrete, I'll be working on that in the future as well, outside of the birth space. So stay tuned. I just don't know when it's going to come. Just like I don't know when my book's going to be ready. But I have one, and it's a birth book, but it's not just a birth book. It's a metaphor for life. And it's called Your Empowered Birth. And it's the 5 pillars have just transformed my life, and I've been able to go deeper into each one. And I had to share this because the dream I had, it was just so profound. It was so powerful. And the insight I had from it was so powerful. And the Lion's Gate is closing tomorrow. So the magic is out there. You've got some time left to bring in what you really want to call in for the next 6 months to a year, to next year, into 2025. Things are really going to change and shift. And we're really coming into a new era. So I can't wait to see what comes of that. And I'll talk to you soon.